Hey everybody, welcome to SMG Viewers Comments episode 132. I do 3 shows a week. Every Friday I try and answer your comments and questions to the best of my ability. And ask a cool question, I will try and answer it. And if you ask a super cool question, I will try and do an entire episode based on that question. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and let's get right to it.
Question for you. You go back in time, back to your first legit recording session. What do you tell yourself? What would you have wanted to know on your first day?
That's a phenomenal question. The first thing I would have said to myself is, don't expect much from the musicians. I would have told myself, honestly, the first band I had come in, this is going to be the exception, not the rule, which really sucks because they were a group called Problem to the Solution and they kicked ass, and almost every band since has been a complete and total letdown because those guys were awesome. And most of the bands I got to do after weren't. The other thing I would suggest to myself is don't obsess about the super expensive gear as much as I did in my younger days, as I found out the cheap Behringer mixer with the preamps are awesome for doing metal guitars. Third thing I would have said would be to invest in some proper bass traps. That would have been extremely important and saved myself a lot of grief back in the day.
Glenn, what are your experiences working with siblings and bands, and have you ever had a fist fight breakout between said siblings during recording? Cheers from warm and sunny Goodyear, Arizona.
Well, cheers from cold and icy Canada. It's in the middle of winter right now, and it sucks. I don't know if I'm back from California yet. If this episode is premiering at NAMM, hey, come see me at the Joyo booth. But seriously, if I don't know if I've had a case where siblings have fought. I've definitely had a situation where 2 key members of a band were boyfriend and girlfriend and saw some of the arguments get pretty heated, and that was kind of not pleasant to be around at all. I think I nearly saw a fist fight break out between a singer and a guitar player in a hardcore punk band I recorded once. That was interesting as well, which is kind of insane. I'm like, why are you guys in the same band together if you can't stand each other? Actually, I think they broke up after we finished the record and it never ever did get released. Fucking prima donnas. Anyway, point being is, yes, it can happen, and should it happen in the studio? Absolutely not. You know, first thing you gotta say is, guys, take that shit outside. I don't want to have any part of it.
This is an awesome video. The biggest tip being, make sure that the computer works. Way back when I had my first studio almost 20 years ago, that was a big issue. Windows 98 and the odd 8-channel interface I had at the time would throw serious curveballs if things were not tested ahead of time, like the rookie mistake of having a screensaver. 8-track live show and the tracks go out of sync exactly 50 minutes in a set does not a happy person make. All the tips in this video are very important. Great stuff, Glenn.
Oh, I remember the fun days of trying to make records on Windows 98. It's like, you know, you get things going and Microsoft would throw all these little, speed bumps at you. Hey, you forgot to turn this off. Hey, guess what? You forgot about that too. We're going to shut you down there. Yeah, getting your Windows to boot clean was always an art form, and turning off all the extra crap. I should really do an episode on that because guess what? That's still an issue on Windows. The first thing you want to do is go into MS config and basically turn off everything and just free up your resources. Windows, the software that's absolutely freaking bloated every chance it gets. I haven't tried Windows 10 yet for recording. I'm kind of on the fence. I might try it when I get back from NAMM just to see what happens. I should really do a Fearless Gear review on that. That would be interesting. Let's do that.
Hell, those drums sound way too good. Terribly clean and clear, like I am hearing the live material. Fuck me, Glenn, that is some piece of work.
Well, you got to thank Cam Fleury on that one. I don't think we had the distressor going on the snare at that point, but the Lewitt mics are a big plus. They were a huge contributing factor. And you know what? Honestly, I gotta say, the Atom monitors in the back might be the biggest deciding factor of all of those. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but ever since I got those installed last fall, my recordings have just gone from pretty good to, wow, those sound great. And I'm not tooting my horn. I mean, like, I've been doing this 20 years, and it's like now, I mean, like, where I'm at is like, damn, this is really starting to sound good. And I think, like I said, the biggest deciding factor of all of that was the Atom A7Xs. If you guys are on the fence about getting some good monitors, I think I'd say check them out. I mean, like, seriously, you want evidence that they work? Listen to my mixes from last year. Listen to my mixes from a couple weeks ago. I think the evidence is pretty clear.
Hey Glenn, how is life in Windsor, Ontario? I'm thinking of going to live there, and I'm wondering, is life hard there?
Depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, like, there's a lot of work in the auto industry and the parts sector. That's hard work. A lot of younger kids who are coming in to that profession can't handle it and can't stand being away from their phones for longer than 3 seconds. So they're having a bit of a time of it, keeping their jobs. And yeah, it is hard manual work. That's about the only opportunities in this town. There's not a lot of tech industry. Although we do have a really cool local company called MNSI, and they've been wiring up the city with fiber optic. I've had it for a while now. It is absolutely brilliant. I really do need to do an episode on how I finally got fiber. Hats off to MNSI and everybody at that company. You guys are magnificent. Seriously though, that made Windsor a whole lot more awesome. I wasn't a big fan of Windsor up until about last summer. It's like, wow, now we've got, bleeding edge fiber optic access, which a lot of the country doesn't have. So Windsor is kind of a leader in that respect. And the pizza here is incredible. I've only ever had pizza as good as Windsor Pizza in New York City and a place called the Pismo Cafe in Pismo Beach, California. Seriously, Windsor usually places really, really well in the Windsor or in the international pizza competition in Las Vegas. Go look it up if you don't believe me. It's a small city and the real estate is fairly cheap. So yeah, there is that going there as well. It really depends on what you want to get into, but every time I think Windsor sucks, I remember that one time I drove through Sarnia. Yuck.
Did you have your cabinet in your drum room when you did this recording? Any suggestions to recording this way if you don't have an ISO box or drum room? Say you're just in your somewhat acoustically treated basement. Just wondering how the guitar noise in the room would interfere with you mixing it through monitors.
That's going to interfere a lot. Yeah, even in my old basement studio, I had my guitar cabinets in a different room. That'd be my first thing. See if it's possible to build a separate room in your basement for the guitar cabs and then doghouse it in that. And if you don't, just build a freaking doghouse. That's not gonna cut down everything, but that will cut down on a lot of the noise. Basically, you're gonna build like a big soundproof box. Once again, I refer you guys to the John Sayers Studio Design Forum. I guarantee if you ask that question there, you're gonna get a lot of help because that is an awesome place to learn all about acoustics and isolation, which is what you're gonna want for a 4x12 cabinet to record.
A relevant comment, but I remember telling my old bandmates about taping off unused strings in recording trick you showed in an old video. Then they called me an idiot, but I said, but Glenn does it. Then they said Glenn is an idiot. The rhythm recordings, and I got fired. Fucking idiot bandmates.
The thing is, I stole that idea from Bob Rock. You watch a year and a half of the life of Metallica, you can see them doing Wherever I May Roam. They're doing like all the harmony guitar parts, and Hetfield's got his strings taped off with masking tape. So I didn't come up with that technique. That is an old technique, and hey, like I said, it all comes back to that ad hominem thing, when you're not smart enough to refute the evidence provided, just call the person names, attack their character. Well, you know what, if you got kicked out of that band, that's fine, because it doesn't sound like those guys were worth recording with anyway, because obviously they already knew everything.
The snare drum on this track sounds pretty exceptional. Rippled?
No, actually, I haven't done that in a while. I was using the Steve Smith cast steel snare for that rippled snare drum trick last year, and that was really cool. But that's a super heavy duty snare drum with super heavy duty hoops. The snare I've been using lately has been the Ludwig Superphonic because it's just awesome and it works in so many different ways. And I love that snare. And no, it's not rippled. All we're doing is tracking it with a live distressor going on it as well, and that is a huge factor in getting that massive snare sound. I've done a video exploring that. I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't. And for all you guys who are tracking drums, think about maybe possibly getting a live compressor for your snare mic and experimenting with that. Even like an FMR, really nice compressor will do the trick. And it's not going to cost you a lot of money.
Do you have any plans to have a full guitar recording tutorials from the absolute most basics, such as this is a mic and records this way, for differences between cardioid and whatnot? This is the DAW, this is the preamp, this is the software for all of us who have zero knowledge and would love to be able to do our own recording in the future in a model after your great sounds.
Yes, absolutely. That is definitely on the books. I'm planning on doing a great big piece on that. That's kind of, all I'm going to say about it at this point, but yes, it's coming. Please stay tuned. Please be patient. These ones take a little while to do, but yes, it is coming. And when it does come out, you can be sure you guys will know. Thanks for asking, though.
Man, I love all the not quite perfect, keep trying man comments. I double dog dare anyone to get under my drum microscope. What this guy played is better than at least 75% of the actual drumming on most of the albums most people think are great.
Thank you, Pipeline Audio. I really appreciate that. By the way, I love the MD45 record. Seriously, Cam's kind of a force of nature in the studio, and yeah, his double bass work is just so clean. I see a lot of guys come in who think they can do it and can't. Cam is one of those guys who can do it. And that's the thing about that video. That was the Cam Fleury and the Lewitt Beat Pro 7 kit. Got to remember, that was completely ad-libbed, off the cuff. No samples, no edits, no nothing. That's just Cam playing his drums. Could it be perfect? Sure. Could I have tweaked it? Absolutely. That would have been way too easy, though, to just fix a couple of minor flaws. You know what? Let's hear the drummer play. I miss music.
You should do an episode on how to build and maintain solid PC for recording, etc. Have you ever even considered switching to Mac?
I think I did an audio PC construction video a couple years back, but I could always do a new one that, go over how I build my own personal machine. That might work, and I should really do an episode on my recording PC. That would be cool. I actually built the main body of it back in 2009, and it's still here, and it's still quiet as death, and it's awesome. As for the Mac question, Rick Beato did a wonderful piece on Mac a little while back, and he was saying, a lot of the big studios these days still have older Macs they haven't upgraded because they don't want their interfaces to become obsolete because they drop thousands and thousands on that, and the newer operating system doesn't support a lot of the older interfaces. And, I got to say, that's complete nonsense. Like I said, Rick's the authority on the Apple stuff, not me, but that's kind of what's been keeping me from going anywhere near a Mac these days. I think Sarah Longfield had a really good comment on that, and if that episode hasn't premiered yet, it will very soon.
Went to the Roxy just a few months before this incident, and it was definitely the most violent concert I've been to. I love the music, but seriously, people, you don't need to be kicking and punching everyone around you in an attempt to look cool.
Yeah, again, I just say, if they're going to tolerate it at the Roxy, don't go to the Roxy. I mean, you shouldn't have to go home in an ambulance because you went to a show and some idiot decides to get violent. You don't look cool, but you are looking for a lawsuit.
The only reason why the old bass string sounded like shit is because you were playing that on an old piece of shit, shitty square P bass knockoff from eBay. I got my first string. I'm in a sound gear bass 6 years ago, and for my birthday, changed the strings once when I got it. Haven't changed them since, and the strings sound brand new, even after years of playing. One thing you gotta realize is that every bass player likes their strings a specific way. You just have to really pathetic and stereotypical reviews on bass players and very disrespectful and biased. Learn your facts, you old fart.
Hey guys, if you're a fan of the show and you haven't acquired a Rule Number 2 shirt yet, please get one as soon as possible. You've just seen the inspiration for it. All right, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the show, remember it comes out every single Friday. Viewers' comments, I try to answer your questions the best I possibly can. If you get some use out of it, please hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way to helping the channel out. Thanks very much for watching. I will see you guys next time.